What actually happens inside the body? After 6 months without alcohol, most people expect the biggest changes to happen early. Better sleep, more energy, clearer thinking. And those do happen. But what surprises researchers is what occurs much later. At 6 months, the body isn't recovering anymore. It's operating differently. Understanding what happens at this stage reveals something important about how deeply alcohol reshapes human biology and what the body becomes capable of once that signal is removed long enough. To understand why 6 months matters, it helps to understand what alcohol was actually doing in the first place. Alcohol is not just a substance the body processes and eliminates. It's a signal, and every system in the body responds to it. Alcohol enhances GABA, the brain's primary inhibitory chemical, while suppressing glutamate, the primary excitatory one. Over time, the brain adapts by downregulating GABA receptors and ramping up glutamate activity to compensate. The liver reroutes its energy to prioritize detoxification above everything else. Inflammation rises. Sleep architecture is disrupted at a structural level. The body reorganizes itself around alcohol's presence. That reorganization is what makes the 6-month mark significant. Recovery isn't just about removing alcohol. It's about waiting long enough for every system that adapted around it to adapt again without it. So what does that actually look like, starting with sleep? Alcohol suppresses REM sleep, where emotional processing, memory consolidation, and cognitive repair happen. In early recovery, the brain goes through REM rebound, temporarily overshooting normal REM levels, causing vivid dreams and restless nights. Sleep often feels worse before it gets better. By 3 months, REM rebound settles. By 6 months, sleep architecture is fully stable, cycling through light sleep, deep sleep, and REM in natural proportions, consistently, night after night. People at this stage describe sleep as predictable, and that matters because sleep is when the body repairs tissue, regulates hormones, and clears metabolic waste from the brain through the glymphatic system. At 6 months, it's finally running without interference. But the brain isn't just recovering sleep. Something more fundamental is happening in its chemistry. The GABA-glutamate imbalance also affects mood, anxiety, and stress tolerance. There's also a third system involved, dopamine. Alcohol causes repeated dopamine surges, and over time, the brain reduces receptor density and lowers baseline production to compensate. This is why regular drinkers often need alcohol just to feel normal, and why early recovery brings low motivation and difficulty feeling pleasure. By 6 months, dopamine pathways have recovered significantly. Receptor density increases, baseline production rises. The ability to feel rewarded by ordinary experiences returns. The brain regains the ability to regulate its own chemistry without an external substance pushing it. That's not just improvement, that's independence. But the brain isn't the only system changing. Now consider the liver and why its recovery affects far more than most people expect. When alcohol is present regularly, the liver deprioritizes everything else to handle detoxification. Alcohol metabolism produces acetaldehyde, a toxic byproduct the liver must neutralize before it damages cells. This consumes the resources normally used for hormone regulation, nutrient processing, and blood chemistry maintenance. Early recovery brings rapid improvement. Fatty liver begins reversing. Enzyme levels drop, inflammation decreases. But these early changes are mostly about stopping the damage. By 6 months, the liver has completed its transition back to full metabolic function. It's regulating insulin, estrogen, testosterone, and thyroid hormones more efficiently. It's no longer in damage control mode. The liver is involved in over 500 biological functions. When it's no longer overloaded, those effects show up everywhere: energy, metabolism, hormonal balance, and stress response. That metabolic shift changes how the body handles energy at a fundamental level. Alcohol disrupts blood sugar regulation and contributes to insulin resistance over time. It elevates cortisol, which promotes fat storage and metabolic instability. In early recovery, strong sugar cravings are common as the body tries to compensate for unstable blood glucose. By 6 months, insulin sensitivity has improved, cortisol has normalized, and energy levels remain consistent throughout the day. Cravings decrease not because of willpower, but because the biological disruption that created them has been resolved. There's one more system that changes quietly, and it may carry the most long-term significance. Alcohol promotes chronic low-grade inflammation. By increasing intestinal permeability, disrupting the gut microbiome and activating immune cells in the liver that release inflammatory signals throughout the body. This kind of inflammation doesn't cause immediate symptoms, but over years, it contributes to cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and accelerated biological aging. By 6 months, inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein have declined measurably. The gut microbiome has begun restoring its diversity. The immune system is no longer in a state of chronic low-level activation. This is what makes 6 months different from 2 weeks or 2 months. In the short term, the body is reacting, stabilizing from disruption. By 6 months, the major systems aren't still recovering. They've completed their recovery and arrived at a new stable state. So what actually happens after 6 months without alcohol? Sleep is consistent. Brain chemistry is stable. The liver is running at full capacity. Energy is regulated. Inflammation is lower. But the most important thing isn't any single change. It's what they collectively represent. The body has moved beyond recovery and into a new baseline. Because in human biology, the body responds to what it is repeatedly given. Remove the signal long enough, and the system doesn't just recover. It stabilizes into a completely new baseline.